The DOT project itself is what they call a SIP project, which is it's a project that is like a short-term improvement, so kind of beautification, pedestrian improvements, stuff they can do in-house. So it's not the capital money that came through the grants, through the state grants. This is in-house DOT cash that they have on hands, crews that they have on hands. They're going to pour some concrete, make better connections, bring in an artist, that type of thing to just kind of beautify the area, clean up some of the parking. The presentation is on our website. It has been on our website, so everyone here who wants to speak to that, they could have seen that. It was videoed, and again, we had a hybrid to get everyone's input then. So what I'm going to do, because we didn't have time to actually do what we just did for the last one, of actually putting together a resolution that our full board, that this committee could vote on, as well as the full board. I'm going to read our draft resolution. We are then going to just discuss it here as a committee first, what that draft resolution looks like, and then we'll open it up to the public here to also comment too. Again, limiting to 2 minutes. I've got speaker forms here, again, if you want to speak on this. I've got some folks that want to. Just make sure you have that. We're going to stick to whoever signed up, those who get to speak. And then anybody who wants to speak on this that is joining us online, you can raise your hand. We'll bring you in so you can speak as well. And we'll go back and forth, folks here, folks online, that type of thing, just to give everyone time. So I'm going to read it first, and I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it up on my screen just because it's bigger. Give me 1 second. All right. So our motion that's before us is support for Department of Transportation Park Road Street Improvement Project. Support to the, and then the first whereas is Park Row is a vital connection between Lower Manhattan, South Street Seaport, the Brooklyn Bridge, Chinatown, Little Italy, and the Lower East Side for buses, pedestrians, cyclists, and emergency vehicles. And whereas after the 9/11 attacks, the city closed Park Road to most vehicle, pedestrian, and bike traffic and did not reopen Park Road to bus traffic until 2005 and to pedestrians and cyclists until 2018. And whereas after the COVID-19 pandemic, New York State designated $20 million for a downtown revitalization initiative for Chinatown that included the approval of $4 million to beautify the Park Road connection to Chinatown because public realm improvements at key nodes and corridors could stitch together Chinatown's walkable grids, create a better pedestrian experience, connect residents to local amenities, and draw additional patrons for local businesses. That's a quote. Including the drawing, spending from the million annual Brooklyn Bridge visitors who currently face an uninviting public realm and around the bridge and Park Road limits pedestrian visitation. And whereas DOT and EDC presented to Community Board 3 in March 2024 about the Chinatown Connections Project for a New York City DOT near-term street improvement project with the immediate goal to clarify access to the corridor and enhance pedestrian and bike connections between Chinatown, Lower Manhattan, and the Brooklyn Bridge, while long-term capital improvements, project planning, and community engagement is ongoing. And whereas after community outreach and stakeholder engagement, DOT and EDC found Park Row has insufficient and unsafe pedestrian and bike access, is confusing to navigate, and lacks wayfinding signs, and has cluttered and unwelcoming gateways, and therefore developed a street improvement project plan for Park Row to improve pedestrian and bike access and wayfinding, create welcoming gateways, provide safer and shorter pedestrian crossings, and calm vehicle turns that includes engaging local artists to install artwork along Park Row. So this is actually just, I'm going to kind of go through is what was actually proposed on this. And again, this is not changing anything, this is improving what we have currently. So engaging local artists to install artwork along Park Road, such as barrier beautification, murals, and asphalt art murals. Pinch point, a new ADA compliant permeable paver or existing red bricks sidewalks dedicated to two-way bike lane and relocated fences to allow space for new sidewalk along the current pinch point. Park Row and Pearl Street, a consolidated two-way bike lane on the south curb, the addition of 15 parking spaces, coordination with NYPD to reorganize French barricades and parking, art opportunity. Park Row and Work Street, Oliver Street, a consolidated two-way bike lane on South Curb, new bus boarding island, new public seating area. Park Row and Frankfurt Street, a painted sidewalk expansion, reorganization of French barricades and sugar cubes, relocation of fences to allow for more sidewalk space, new wayfinding signs, fence barrier beautification, and repurposing of 21 AVO parking spaces, which, yeah, we should just write that out. Frankfurt Street and Rose Street, new northwest-bound protected bike lane on Frankfurt Street, upgrade southeast-bound bike lane to be protected, reorganize French barricades and Jersey barriers, remove fences on Rose Street, repurpose 7 authorized vehicle only parking spaces, art opportunity, Rose Street and Avenue of the Finest, painted curb extensions, new wayfinding signs, art opportunity, Pearl Street and Avenue of the Finest, permeable pavers, or existing red bricks for the curb extensions, pedestrian island, replace Jersey barriers with security planters, Pearl Street and St. James Place, painted curb extensions, DOT art opportunity, Madison Street and St. James Place, painted curb extensions, signal timing improvement, which is a leading pedestrian interval, DOT art opportunity, and we'll go for, therefore be it resolved, Community Board 3 supports a Department of Transportation street improvement project for Park Row, which will beautify and result in a safer pedestrian and cyclist experience, changes that are in line with the board's district needs with the following modifications. The addition of physical barriers such as planters, trees, seating, instead of concrete Jersey barriers or bollards, and clear signage at painted curb extensions. Work with NYPD to replace as many Jersey barriers along Park Row between Worth and Frankfurt Streets as possible with more inviting physical barriers such as planters and/or trees. Work with NYPD to move the concrete barriers blocking off the old Park Road North exit ramp closer to the ramp to add space at the pinch point, specifically the elevated area currently used for parking. Work with NYPD to ensure NYPD vehicles are only parked in designated parking stalls along Park Row. Work with NYPD to ensure the proper locating and timely removal and storage of any temporary barricades deployed so as not to block or detract from the pedestrian experience along Park Row. Lighting and artwork at the base of the staircase from the Brooklyn Bridge and the One Police Plaza underpass to better guide visitors and increase sense of safety. Prioritization of local Chinatown and Lower East Side artists for any DOT art projects, and follow up with the Manhattan Borough President's Office to officially partner on the Million More Trees project. And therefore be it further resolved, Community Board 3 supports the near-term street improvement project to beautify Park Row and making it a safe, welcoming, and functional corridor that prioritizes pedestrians seeking connections between Lower Manhattan, South Street Seaport, the Brooklyn Bridge, Chinatown, Little Italy, and the Lower East Side. So again, we're going to talk about this with the committee. And David, you're the first one.
One correction, and I think it's the fourth whereas. It says that they presented in, it should be May instead of March.
Yes. Time is relative.
Yeah, there have been a different presentation, probably in March. Got it.
Anybody else have any comments right now? All right. Any board members want to speak here online about this? Okay. I'm going to just go through. We've got a few people that want to talk about Park Row, and so I'll call you up, and then if you could speak. Again, we're going to keep you to a time limit. I think we've got time cards. Someone can actually help. And so again, I want to just emphasize too, speak your mind, what you want to talk about. But again, I want to just say that this project was for a small project to beautify that area. This is not the larger Chatham Sq project that EDC and DOT are working on. This is not the $4 million that is still sitting there from the grant money. This is not looking at anything with vehicles at the moment because DOT is still working on traffic studies, and they will come back to this board, and you will all have comment to be able to comment on that when that comes back. Right now we have no information, so again, what we're looking at here is like the sidewalk is really narrow. Can you get us a better sidewalk connection, make it a little bit prettier, get the barricades in a better location, and also just make it a safer pedestrian experience for folks that are walking through there, make it more welcoming, get some signage, and just reconfigure some of the street. So again, some short-term improvements that hopefully we all kind of like. So with that, Victor Huey.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
I don't need a mic. Oh, you need for
I
the.
just-
Yeah,
this
we
is
need
for
the
the
mic.
Zoom.
Yeah, sorry, we need the mic just because of folks who are listening online.
Okay,
just
well-
to our video.
Okay, my name is Victor Huey from an organization for Chinatown Organization for Media Awakening. We're a nonprofit trying to tell stories about our community that's been there for 150 years. We fought for every inch to create a safe place for the Chinese community to exist. Over the last 2 decades, from 9/11 on, whether you're closing Park Row, building the jail, creating these mechanisms without community support, what's going to happen is that you're going to have a beautiful street, but the community is being destroyed piece by piece by these plans that don't take account for this 150-year-old community. Everything, every inch of land, street in Chinatown has been fought for through discrimination, prejudice, and it's the cultural center of the Chinese community in New York City, the largest Chinese community in the United States. And until we get our voices heard, Chinatown will be destroyed by 1,000 cuts. We lost Park Row, parking spaces, the jail. Are you kidding me? 50-story jail? PS-23 burnt down. Where's the money coming from? All of a sudden, a $20 million DRI grant is all of a sudden hijacked to a new plan. It was supposed to be given to Chinatown to help it survive, not help it die.
Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, thank you.
Campbell?
Oh, I signed up for the next.
Oh, sorry, one final. Howard Huey.
Hi, I want to talk about the Park Row and Ward Street, Oliver Street, to consolidate two-way bike lanes on South Curb and new bus boarding island, new public seating area. The bus boarding island being proposed at Worth and Oliver Street will take up one of the 2 northbound lanes on Park Row. When the bus stops to pick up passengers, then it will take up the other lane and effectively block all northbound traffic. If Park Row were to open, this would not be a viable solution. You might say that Park Row reopens, you can change this back, but then this would be at least a waste of scarce funding, and the money can and should be better utilized on a better project. However, my main objection to this bus island is that it is inherently unsafe. Many of our seniors use this stop and have to cross a 2-lane bike lane, and that would be unsafe, and they would have to get onto this bus island. They would have to navigate curb cuts that must be installed. And they will be looking at the curb cuts, not the bike traffic, when they go down these curb cuts. God bless our seniors because they think they are super persons, and they will invariably load these walkers with groceries so they can make soup for their sons and daughters. So making it even more difficult to cross. So I would say safety to our seniors, not to mention other bus riders, is paramount for this consideration. Don't put in this bus island.
Thanks, Howard. I'm gonna go to Ginny Chin.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Jeannie Chin. Beautification is good, but is merely the symptom of the true cause of our problems on Park Row. Today, in 2024, we are thrust into the same dilemma we faced in 2008, 2009, when the banking collapse started and DOT wanted to help One Police Plaza dig up Chatham Square and Park Row in a 2-step process exactly like today, when Chatham Square at that time had just been reconstructed 10 years earlier. Again, 1PP wants to create a maze in front of Park Road to further disconnect, harden, and isolate our community's access to the larger community. This proposed Park Road, Chatham Square reconfiguration increases traffic congestion, pollution, severely impacts our emergency service access routes, and hammers our local economy. We are opposed to DOT helping 1PP create 15 new parking spots on Park Road under the guise of protecting the bike lanes. Remember, the only ones using these streets are the NYPD and public buses. Who is protecting who when bomb-sniffing dogs are directly under our residents' windows instead of at the proposed 15 parking spots on Park Road that we have repeatedly asked for? Chinatown lost a 400-car municipal garage to 1PP when they already had a 200-car garage, helping DOT give the NYPD 15 more parking spots when they have invaded our entire neighborhood. Hell no, this may be the straw that breaks our backs.
Thank you. We're gonna just gonna promote Sam Zimmerman, who's online. I'm gonna let him speak.
Thank you.
Sam, if you just accept that, you can then be able to speak. Hi, Sam. Why don't you go unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
You can. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Hi, my name's Sam. I'm a resident of the Lower East Side. I use Park Row a lot these days, but until relatively recently, I didn't even realize it was open for pedestrians because it's been so unwelcoming and militarized by the NYPD, who took the street away from the community after 9/11. But now that I've been using it more and more, I think it's just such a great asset for pedestrians in the community going between Chinatown, Brooklyn Bridge, Financial District. And I see the huge number of people walking off the Brooklyn Bridge and how they can support local Chinatown businesses if they're invited in through a welcoming street design. So I support the street improvement plan to make Park Row more welcoming to community resident visitors. With all the ongoing construction on the waterfront, I think that Park Row is even more necessary for a pedestrian connection between lower Manhattan neighborhoods. So I hope the committee will support the street improvement plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, we're gonna go to Jeannie. You already, I knew this.
She'll go again.
You've got more things to say.
Sorry about that, Judy. Jan Lee.
Is there a mic? Where did the mic go? Thank you, Susan. First of all, I want to compliment Community Board 3 once again because the Transportation Committee in 2006 has laid out so many of the things that we're still talking about today. 2006, there was a recommendation to adopt a resolution that was written in 2003. There's many comments regarding a lot of the things that we're saying, and I want to piggyback on what Victor was saying, that the ever-increasing footprint of incarceration and the NYPD has not gone away, it's gotten worse. We're looking at the same things that we talked about in this document, which is the resolutions and recommendations from 2006, have actually become exacerbated. And I think that we have to be very careful not to fall into the trap that we were facing in the early 2000s when the NYPD tried to make things prettier, to make it not so bad that they were occupying our neighborhood. They are still hundreds of feet encroaching into our neighborhood. Their activities reflect and reverberate throughout our neighborhood, whether it's their cars, whether it's their taking over our streets, but just the mere activity that they exist. Combined now with the largest jail in the world a few blocks away, combined with construction that's going to be going on from 70 Mulberry Street, this ever-increasing presence of NYPD should not be made pretty and therefore made permanent and therefore made acceptable. We are still very much against their occupation and their ever-increasing presence. So please don't be fooled that planters and art that's temporary is something that should be codified into our sanctioning their existence, we don't believe that they should really be here. And many of our issues about transportation and access will go away if they reduce their footprint. So we still remain steadfast in that.
Thank you for your comments. Hannah Goldstein?
Regarding pedestrian and traffic safety, I strongly urge that the DOT keeps the southeast corner of Park Row and Oliver as is, without building out the sidewalk and without adding a new bus boarding island. The proposal shows that there's a two-way bike lane to get to the bus island, putting people in danger because they're crossing the bike lanes in order to get to the bus island. There's curbs that they have to step down to and up to, and people who are handicapped will have difficulty navigating it. And it narrows down the Park Row northbound lane to only traffic to only one lane, which will prevent the opening of Park Row fully in the future. So this proposal is more of a permanent thing as opposed to a cosmetic thing that is temporary.
Mhm.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Patty?
Here. Hi, Martha. Thank you. When I'm listening to this board speak, I think the chair keeps mentioning time, that we have such limited time here. But yet, this proposal of this temporary beautification project is actually taking up everyone's time here, the board's time. You're trying to pass a resolution for something that is a temporary art project in an attempt, really misguided attempt, to make the Jersey barriers pretty. If you go up on Park Row right now, you will see that they in fact have already started painting and making the Jersey barriers pretty. It is not pretty, it's already peeling. The true question that you all should be reviewing right now is, why aren't we removing all of the Jersey barriers? What exactly is the purpose that they serve? They serve no purpose whatsoever because they're on Park Row where the only traffic is what? Police cars and the buses. Are they saying that they're afraid the police cars are going to hit the buses or vice versa? That's nonsensical, right? Because there's really not any traffic. So the true question here and the true piece of your resolution should be, let's remove all of these disgusting, rotting, ugly Jersey barriers. Thank you for your time. I'm not going to waste it on other people.
Thanks for your comments. Triple Edwards?
I'd written your committee a letter, and inside of it there's a lot of questions and comments and visuals for you guys to take a look at, but I don't believe everyone got to see it. Because if you did, you would see exactly how dilapidated things are. And what DOT is proposing is this immediate short-term proposals. And we're saying, what's the rush here? I'm asking you guys to slow down, because you're not considering that even outside of Park Row, which we love the idea of beautifying, outside of it, we're not even discussing those things. Frankfurt Street and Avenue of the Finest, St. James, Avenue of the Finest, so forth and so on, right? If you look at all of those intersections that they're also clumping into their safety zone, that stuff all has electronic arm checkpoints. So what DOT is doing is beautifying, replacing planters, relocating fences, reorganizing sugar cubes and bike racks. The word eliminate or get rid of is not there. So let's paint it and let this community keep living with it and accepting it. Why are you even shortening the crosswalks and building permanent curb things? Because as we've said, they've closed off those streets. They've closed off those streets and they've usurped it for their own parking. So my point is, small changes, they flow into the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we have a stranglehold on our community from the NYPD. There is no need for this kind of security. Maybe after 9/11 when we weren't prepared. But we're 23 years later right now, and our capabilities are so much stronger. Our vigilance is so much stronger, but yet the NYPD insists on growing, expanding. I'm tired of living in the campus of NYPD. We've watched this campus crumble and fall.
Thank you. All right. I do appreciate everyone coming out here tonight. So thank you for taking the time out of your night on a Tuesday in June, when June is typically really busy. So I really do appreciate you coming out here tonight and letting us hear that. So I'm going to just close the discussion for the public right now, bring it back to the committee. And again, we have this resolution that we're working on. Do we want to just...
Yeah, I just wanted to address Patty's comment. I think we have it in here, but we can strengthen it. We have worked with NYPD to replace as many Jersey barriers along Park Road between Worth and Frankfurt. We can edit it to say to just replace the Jersey barriers or remove the Jersey checks.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
And maybe...
Yeah, I think it should say remove all Jersey barriers.
It should be
because
removed.
there's no purpose whatsoever, since there's no traffic there.
Yeah, because counterterrorism actually said that it's only there for storage because they didn't have anywhere else to put it. So yeah. Sorry, I yeah, no, the middle ones. Yeah.
So which one are we looking at here? I'm sorry, can you make it bigger? I should have brought my glasses.
So here, this may be as many as necessary to replace.
Should remove all Jersey barriers. Because otherwise they're gonna start painting them, making it look French.
There are a number of them, though, that do line the bike lane and perhaps organized
No,
bike
they do not.
pedestrian. There are
No,
not.
they don't serve any
They
purpose.
serve
They
no
really don't?
purpose.
Yeah, no.
If you walk up Park Road, you will see they serve zero purpose.
I think it's the camouflage that those islands have crumbled underneath.
Yeah. David,
All right.
David, you walked.
Guys, I just gotta we gotta,
Sure.
I understand, I really appreciate everyone's input here. We're just gonna keep it going here. Yeah, I think it's like removing all Jersey barriers. And if
There's
Jersey
a whole
barriers
bunch
must
of them
stay,
right there at the pinch point, which I had recalled.
Yeah.
And they,
So-
And they're painted, as you
those
see, as
painted
you walk down
yeah,
them.
looking at the old
And they're crumbling, and they look awful.
They're gonna move it. That's the
Well, anyway, they probably don't serve much of a purpose. I have no trouble believing it.
that's
Did you guys know that DOT said that their plan for upkeep of the painting of these things is, they said it would be lovely.
sorry, yeah, sorry. Like, I really appreciate y'all coming out, but like
Yeah.
this is how now it's our time to just kind of do this, okay? Thank you. Did we,
Okay, all Jersey barriers along that, say as possible, since these are unnecessary.
yeah,
So remove them, get rid of as many unnecessary if you want to do with track changes or something, but we're all on board with it. Moving all Jersey barriers along Park Road between Worth Street and Frankfurt Streets. Comma, as they are unnecessary. I believe they are. I mean, those are the ones I recall, because I do like on it. There is a bus lane there. It does.
I mean, we could say
Okay.
like, remove all
I
necessary.
agree. I do think that they are necessary because I see them there and I know that there are buses just the other side and it's narrow. To remove as many Jersey barriers, go back to the previous language, I would say, and then say, you can undo maybe Control Z 3 times. You have that.
oops.
as many unnecessary Jersey barriers along as possible, comma, well, I put dash instead of with, I would say dash. And then let's have a little phrase in there saying, almost all of them are there for storage.
Like where?
Almost right there. Almost all are there only for storage. Yeah, and put word or only in front of for storage, a dash. Change, put a dash right there.
Okay.
And then go back only for storage.
So may I say, David, can you?
Only, no, we're not. Okay, that's fine. And then instead of more there, replacing, if possible, replacing them with more inviting, yeah, physical barriers such as, you know, and if that's as necessary, you know. Replacing them as necessary with, you know, if you're at the word planter, okay, there you go, sorry, I heard you take it and the cursor was up there. That was the correct place. The screen is lagging your typing, that's all. Go back where you were in front of the word with and write as necessary. Can, as necessary with. Okay, working. Anyway, this says what we want there, and it's sort of a compromise, but I prefer keeping the necessary Jersey barriers where it is very narrow and there's a bus passing right by bikes.
Yeah, makes sense.
How can,
Yes, yes.
Is that actually CB3?
Oh
Where
my
it says
gosh.
Frankfurt and?
No, it's the Pearl Street is the marking line.
Pearl, it is the
No,
west side
but
of
where we're
Pearl.
saying, you know, to move the barriers between Frankfurt and
That's
Worth is.
Don't we go down to the bridge,
Frankfurt and Worth is the whole thing.
Pardon?
Frankfurt and Worth is the whole thing, basically.
the boundary?
Like, is that part
But
of
is that CB3?
Part of it is.
What?
Most of it is.
I thought
Well,
Frankfurt
where
was in
does
CB1.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, or you have to find this?
Just wanna be careful.
I think we're down on Frankfurt is the boundary, but I'm not sure. Is Frankfurt the boundary? If Frankfurt's the boundary,
Well, here. Where's Frankfurt?
it seems to be the bridge.
So it's below the bridge, so.
Well, this is our boundary.
Smack in the middle of between the two, so what we're discussing is, in CB3. Good, because we're not supposed to comment particulars about anything outside.
Well, David, I respectfully just want to also point out, there's also the bike racks that are in abundance. As you walk by, you see all the bike racks on the.
Really appreciate your comments, but really, please.
So not just Jersey.
how do we address the concern that was brought up by two or three folks about the two-way bike lane? That would be what, at Oliver and Worth? That is right smack, that seniors and other folks have to cross over in order to get to. What's the description of the bus?
The island.
The bus island.
Bus island.
Is there a way of shifting that slightly so that the bike lane is on the other side of the island? I'm sorry, I don't have it.
Hey Kate, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but like, can you speak a little bit? Do you have any idea like what that bus island was? Have we done that in other locations and they found that it's safer or?
Yeah,
so-
suggest something else.
Yeah, so I would have to check. I believe we did consider putting the bus on island somewhere else, but ended up on that location. But I, again, have to double check what the logic behind that decision was and our findings about having it adjacent to the bike lane.
Okay, so to that point, do we wanna add just something that just says, and, you know, DOT to further review locations of any bus islands, to ensure safety or something like that?
We could, I mean, I don't.
It gets
It's
like
gonna be a lot better to have a platform as they do right now. Those two lanes still exist there. The bike lane is still there already, and this creates a pedestrian holding
Like a
area.
refuge.
So I think anything other than what they propose is less safe for everyone.
Yeah. No,
So
and-
I didn't actually follow exactly the line of reasoning that it was a problem.
I think is that what they're saying is it could block buses, as I understand. But there's no vehicles, there's nothing
Pretty
there,
wide
so,
right there, that's
yeah.
where, isn't that right where you enter off of Chatham Square into, what blocking
Yeah,
shit,
it's
it's the
right.
police barricades,
Yeah.
right? Right.
So in order for
That's
pedestrians
at
to
Oliver,
get,
okay, well, yeah, that is right there, so that's, yeah.
so in order for pedestrians to get to that bus island, they have to cross over
There's a
the
crosswalk.
bike lane, as opposed to the bike lane being bumped out on the other side of the island. So I see their point.
Yeah, but there's a crosswalk from the intersection to the island.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's, to be honest,
Okay, so there's a crosswalk, but
Vince, I got something. Vince.
I'm not sure where the bus currently stops. The bus currently stops where the bike, at the curb where the bikes are. Yeah, so it's a, it's a shared bus. Yeah, here it is. Here's the diagram existing in what they're proposing.
we've got one, wants to speak.
So yeah, in other parts of the city where this is set up, it actually is safer for folks getting on and off the bus because they're on a designated island. Once they cross the crosswalk to the island, which is versus people coming, a bike lane merging where unloading is happening. So that's more unsafe. So where we have space in our communities, these islands are going to be really valuable for both bus drivers and for the cyclists.
Where are you getting that data from?
Maybe not.
No, just,
Where's that data from?
okay, we don't need
Is
to
there
provide
a
that
motion
here.
on the floor to amend this, because otherwise we're
There
discussing
is.
nothing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
does someone second it?
Okay. It was, what will happen if the bus doesn't pull to the curb, cyclists are gonna continue along the curb, and then there's a real conflict. Another thing that happens is if there's no bus coming and people are stepping out off to the bike lane to look down the road, which happens constantly, trust me, I cycle a lot. That's not safe for them either, and this gets rid of both of those situations.
Yeah,
So
I
I am
agree.
absolutely in favor of
So am I.
building this.
I actually don't see that, and considering that this is a NORC, and that when you have seniors, it's not just getting on the bus, but it's also exiting the bus. So while I may see your point on entering, getting off, I see it as a safety concern.
But I see like the island goes to the crosswalk where that is the safest spot to cross when there is a bike lane, because it's a vehicle lane. It's like if you're crossing the bike lane, it's like crossing a vehicle lane. You should be crossing at the crosswalk, and what this does is it brings them kind of inherently to the crosswalk because it's raised. It looks like it tells you where you're supposed to be going.
But that's also assuming that the bicyclists will stop just because it's a lane of
Well,
traffic.
that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
That's a different story, but it is the safest at an intersection.
I don't believe so, but there's no second in that motion, so.
Okay. All right. Are we? I think we're good here. So let's take a vote. We'll just go down the line on this one. Just if you could start at the end.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yes.
In favor of this.
Yes.
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 Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thanks to everyone coming out tonight. So the next one we're going to go to here is the request for support for DOT to strengthen daylighting regulations.